Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, also known to most viewers as Godzilla vs. the Cosmic Monster, and even then, some viewers know this movie as Godzilla vs. the Bionic Monster. It's the same movie, just had a different name. Cinema Shares got sued by Universal because apparently Bionic Monster was similar to Bionic Woman, and so they had to change it. It's not big of a deal, it's all the same movie. This movie is a 20th anniversary film of Godzilla, and in it, he fights his mechanical doppelganger, Mechagodzilla, who has grown to become one of the most well-known arch-nemesis that the monster has ever had. Even though his movie was it was okay at times, his downright appearances were just great. They were so great. And yeah. The movie starts with a descendant of some royal Okinawan family that got extinct a long time ago, I guess, having a vision of a monster destroying the world once Mount Fuji erupts and the sun rises in the west. And yeah. And despite the fact that King Ghidorah is supposedly the one that destroys the world, he is not seen at all in the movie except for stock footage. But sooner or later, the signs of the prophecy come to life. Mount Fuji blows up, first of all, and that's where, out of nowhere, basically out of a rock, Godzilla shows up, and he is mad. And he destroys a little hotel on his way to Tokyo, but not before he fought Anguirus, who senses that something was wrong, and his fears were proven correct as a giant piece of metal is seen shining outside of his hide. Realizing that this Godzilla is a fake, Anguirus decides to battle it to the best of his ability, but this fake Godzilla ends up beating him up pretty badly. He smashes his head a bit, and he throws him around like Bowser from Super Mario 64. Then one of the most brutal parts in history, or in Godzilla history. Later on, as he progresses to Tokyo, he doesn't destroy much of it because his only interest is to blow up a factory. And his atomic breath, for some reason, appears yellow. And out of nowhere, Godzilla pops up right out of a building. He realizes that there's another one of him and decides to fight him to see who is the superior king of monsters. Well, during the whole gist of it, he was able to peel off more of that fake Godzilla's hide, revealing more sheets of metal. Realizing he's fighting a doppelganger of himself, he fires his atomic breath and most of his material gives way, revealing a really metallic underbody underneath. That's when he realizes he's fighting the mechanical doppelganger himself, called Mechagodzilla. Realizing that Godzilla is fighting Mechagodzilla, he tries to finish his opponent off real quickly with a traditional beam fight. But unfortunately, Mechagodzilla can counter with a pretty powerful laser eye beams. And it knocks them both back, making Godzilla bleed heavily as implied in the water, while Mechagodzilla is down for repairs. So, those two had to retreat to fight again another day. So, there's a reveal that Mechagodzilla is under the possession of Black Hole Planetary aliens, led by Kuronuma. And these guys have a grudge against Godzilla for whatever reason, because they didn't bother to put one in the film. But they see him as a distraction to their true target, which is King Caesar, a legend from Okinawa, rumored to protect the family of rulers there for generations. But seeing as that Shisa statue that humans got is the key to his whereabouts, they had to settle down for fixing their robot, whilst hiring one of their hitmen to track them down on a cruise ship. So while the three groups, we'll just say, are doing their business, I mean, for one thing, Godzilla is in an island somewhere being struck by lightning. And he has seen Rory in pain because while he has been awoken by lightning before, that was when he was asleep. Now he's feeling more than 1,000,000 volts of electricity on his spikes. But for some weird reason, he was able to harness it to control a power of his own. Who knows? Maybe it could have been an electric breath or electric gripped hands, just like Kong had in 1962, or laser eyes from his lightning bolts. Something triggered inside him that caused him to harness the power of lightning while he was on the island. At the same time, however, the aliens were able to find out where the Shisa statue was, and they decided to try and ambush them, only for it to fail miserably as they fought back, and they were able to incapacitate them, which revealed their true form, which is a rip-off species of monkey from Planet of the Apes. I'm guessing apes together strong. Kinda rang in the minds of Toho, didn't they? Well, seeing as they now know their true form and he now has the gun pointed at them, they were forced to comply until some weird shady agent shoots him into the ocean with the statue along with it. Unbeknownst to any of them, however, one of the travelers actually hit it with the captain through a safe system of sorts in the cruise ship, thus allowing them to enjoy some time with ease. And all of that money spent on that fight scene and that special effects was for nothing. But hey, at least they gave us a good show of it. So anyway, with the statue safe, they were able to make it to Okinawa. Whereas at the same time, a group of Interpol agents make it to Kuronuma's hideout in the middle of the island. And it seems they have arrived just in time to see Mechagodzilla rebuilt and relaunched. This time towards the hiding place of King Caesar, which is somewhere in the island, and they were most likely going to destroy it just to find one simple creature, we'll just say. At the same time, the other group makes it to the place where the Shisa statue was found. And just around that time, the sun rose in the west, thus revealing King Caesar's location. Once they found out, they launched Mechagodzilla towards it. And the only way they could wake up King Caesar to get him away from Mechagodzilla's wrath was to sing a really cringy song. I mean, they do not repeat it once, but they repeat it twice. So yeah, it was excruciating pain for me. I mean, I'm guessing King Caesar didn't respond until Mechagodzilla was meters away from his sleeping spot, because that song was so cringy. But in the end, it ends up proving itself worthwhile as King Caesar wakes up in an earth-shattering glory. I'm guessing he had enough of her singing that cringy song. But King Caesar is actually a pretty unique monster. I mean, he's based off a Shisha from Okinawan legend. And he's a pretty expert in martial arts master. He also has this weird, uncanny ability to shoot an enemy's beams back at them. And he uses this ability against Mechagodzilla twice. It was a pretty cool ability. It actually damaged him a couple times before he went all berserk on him. But unfortunately, because he was too traditional and Mechagodzilla was built with futuristic technology, his martial arts were for nothing. But still, I kind of wish they included him shooting the beams back at you in Unleashed. I mean, I really didn't get the fire eye beams for whatever reason why they put him there. It was a pretty cool monster. And apparently his theme is muted by Pipeworks. So, well, you know, I guess. Anyway, around the same time, Godzilla shows up and he is mad after the last match and proceeds to blast Mechagodzilla. But seeing as how Mechagodzilla knows who he is now and knows his attacks, he decides to spin his head around to create a little force field, preventing him from landing a blow on him. And he tries to fire his atomic breath, which is rendered useless. So any form of attack is rendered futile, and his own hand is damaged from touching the force field. So in all honesty, all I'm wondering is, what kind of music is Mechagodzilla listening to in his own little personal jukebox? Then it's a 2v1 battle. And despite him being outnumbered, he can actually neutralize him easily. He can twist his head around and fire beams at King Caesar while shooting his finger missiles at Godzilla. Meaning they're basically screwed. He was even able to make Godzilla bleed a fountain of blood, knocking him down. And during all of that, the humans decided to sabotage his operations. Which they sort of do, but didn't help much. It took Godzilla to use his magnetic powers that he got and turned himself into a human magnet. He was able to take out the missile stuck in his hide, and he was able to draw Mechagodzilla, despite him using his full power, back towards him. Now it kind of backfired on him a bit because Mechagodzilla tried dragging him upwards with him in tow, but because of his weight, he was unable to, and thus allowing Godzilla to twist his head clean off. And so the Shisa statues return, Godzilla returns to the ocean, and King Caesar goes back to his beauty sleep. Hopefully not to be awakened by another cringy song again. And the aliens have been destroyed by humans blowing themselves up with it. So yeah, everything turned out fine in the end, and the royal family apparently can now rest in peace. So yeah, the movie was released as a 20th anniversary of Godzilla, because 1954, 1974. And around this time, the Godzilla series was at its height in the Dark Age. After the cringe fest that was Godzilla vs. Megalon, unless you watched the MST3K version, which I did, and I liked it a lot, Godzilla was a hopeless case. And this film kind of brought back some sense into the franchise, seeing as how Godzilla is starting to be taken seriously again. And Mechagodzilla is a huge force to be reckoned with. He's a pretty cool monster, to be honest. And yeah, this would be the final time that Jun Fukuda would direct this film, and Masaru Sato would score for the film. He scored it whenever Akira Ifukube wasn't around, which was basically every film since Godzilla Rage Again. And this also features some notable cameos, notably Hiroshi Koizumi and Kenji Sahara as a professor and a sea captain. And this film is notable for its jazzy soundtrack, which is okay. It fits some scenes, but it's also cringe-inducing in others. And it also introduced Mechagodzilla, one of Godzilla's big rivals. He's basically the one who rounds out the big five, because the big five are Anguirus, Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla. He rounds out the top five. And yeah, he'll become prominent in most other incarnations, most notably in Godzilla vs. Kong. Spoiler alert. But yeah, this is a film that I would recommend watch at least once. Then whenever subsequent screenings, you can just skip the cringy songs or the cringy parts. And it's also notable for me because usually Akihiko Hirata would star as a villain, like you see in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, or Godzilla vs. Gigan, I think. But in this one, he portrays a hero, and no eye patch to boot. Which is kind of weird, considering that he appears also in the last film of the franchise as a scientist and stuff. One thing that I kind of didn't like about this film was the ending was pretty much rushed. Felt like it was rushed and left ambiguous. I mean, we never knew what happened to the group of humans that blew up the monster's base. Nor do we know what happened to the other civilians that were terrorized in the streets of Tokyo. Kind of wish we had more filler related to that, you know? But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. And, well, overall, it's a film that I recommend you watch at least once. But skip the cringe-inducing parts during later showings. That's all.